The first melody that came to mind. Mm. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. One more time. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. So we have that as the melody, which will be sung by altos, the alto one group. We'll sing that. The second part begins on the one. Honor the darkness is where it's written, but we'll be singing it. Honor the darkness. 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 One. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. So I'll put it into context with the first part. And what you'll notice in the recording and as with the teaching now, that the parts are layered in. So we'll have first the alto melody, then the alto two part, then the tenor part, and then the bass, and finally the sopranos. So once again, from the beginning. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear. There's our starting until note. Only love remains. Honor the darkness as you do honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. As you do honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness. By day and honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Uncertainty honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness. Until only honor the darkness. And the tenor will come in with the same rhythm as the alto two part, but beginning. Honor the darkness. 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 And here I have to make a note because as I was looking back over the notation, there is actually a mistake, human error, at the end of the tenor part, right before the last measure, right before the repeat that comes back around. So what I have in the notation that you would have received before today has the same E in the second, in the beginning note there, but it actually wants to be the same B as the previous time. I've fixed it in the box. So if you get the notation from the Google folder, then you'll have a fixed version, but the version that was sent out before has my human error in it. So I admit to being human. So let's put that part in, and I'm going to layer them just like we did each time.
Leah?
We learn one part. Yes.
For the alto 2 part, that's really high, and we were
Okay.
singing an octave lower, starting on the E.
Okay, and is that comfortable for you singing an octave lower?
For the alto 2s, it's really high to sing that high for them, I think.
Okay,
That's
and
what
is
we
it
were
comfortable
practicing.
singing? Is it comfortable singing it the octave lower?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can re-record it that way, or we can leave it that way. What's on this right here? The recording in the box, Karen and I looked at, and if it's an octave lower in the recording, then it should be fine. Right now, in this moment, I'm just kind of.
Okay, yeah. On the recording, it's an octave lower, so that's good.
Yeah, okay, so we should be safe. And just in case, maybe I'll just record another version of this that is the octave lower for. Okay, so we'll do that again. Thank you for that. Human error happens. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the darkness. 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 Okay, so this leads me to believe that the notation that I have here does not reflect a change that Karen and I made. So Karen, help me out here. I think I might have old notation in front of me.
So the alto 2 part, or alto 1 part was the melody. Alto 2 was what was just sung there on the high note. Honor the darkness, honor the darkness, honor the darkness, honor the darkness. That was the higher note, and then the lower one was the tenor.
So I think we talked about changing that, and for some reason I have a version of the notation that does not reflect that.
Yeah, the thing that you were singing. Yeah.
It'll all make sense in the box, folks, I promise.
Let me just say to the alto 1s or alto 2s, you can hear when what she was just singing that your part is a little higher than the tenors. It's really easy to hear. It's beautiful.
Okay, and so the bass is written honor the dark, an octave lower than I can actually sing. If your basses have low E's in their registers, and please feel free to sing them, and if an octave higher is more comfortable, that's fine as well. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. One more time. Honor the dark. Honor the dark. So from the beginning, I'll play all three of these together and then add the bass. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. honor the darkness by day, honor the darkness, honor the darkness, uncertainty, honor the darkness, deliver us, honor the darkness, until only honor the darkness, 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 deliver us, honor the darkness, 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 deliver us, honor the darkness, honor the darkness. So the final part is the sopranos. As the butterfly slips free from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon, sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. Let the darkness heal you until only love remains. Again. As the butterfly slips free from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon, sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. But let the darkness heal you until only love remains. One more time. As the butterfly slips free from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon, sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. But let the darkness heal you until only love remains. So we'll put it into context. I'll play all the parts together now, and we'll add the soprano the second time around. 2, 3, 4. Honor the darkness, 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 deliver us, honor the darkness, honor the darkness, as the butterfly slips free from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon, sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. But let the darkness heal you until only love remains. As the butterfly slips free from her dark cocoon, as the evening sky reveals the light of the moon, sometimes fear surrounds us, sometimes there will be pain. But let the darkness heal you until only love remains. So there are all the basic parts, and I'm going to go through them once again, and then we'll look at the last measure. Are there any questions up to this point or clarifications? Okay, here we go. From the top. 3, 4. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the darkness as you do honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness by day and honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Uncertainty honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness until only love honor the darkness. honor the darkness, 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 as the butterfly slips free from her, honor the darkness, as the evening star reveals the light of her darkness. Sometimes we surround us, sometimes we'll be darkness, but let the darkness heal you until only love remains. All right. So the last measure, we've got the altos who were singing the melody. Honor the dark. Well, that's exactly what you're singing at the end. So honor the dark. And I realize, Karen, I know we discussed this, but I'm thinking that the discrepancy, the confusion that we had, is that the second part, that honor the darkness, is meant to be the tenor part.
Right, that's the tenor part, yeah.
Right. And then the second part that I have written as tenor here is actually the alto 2, and it is an octave higher. So that's the change I want to make as well. And that was the change I wanted to make on the notation. That would have helped tremendously. So for the tenors, that second part, it is honor the dark, honor the dark, honor the dark. So you're singing honor the darkness, and you start on the same E. Honor the dark. For the alto 2s, same story. You started on that B. Honor the darkness. So your ending is honor the dark. So you start on the same first note. Once you have your basic your concept of what your line is, you come back to that home base to end the song. And the same thing with the basses, your same first note, honor the dark. Well, you end, honor the dark. Not that. Honor the dark, honor the dark. And our sopranos are the only people who are making something of a shift from their part. So in the beginning, they're singing, as the butterfly. The end is, honor the dark. I'm a guitarist, but the piano is helpful for teaching parts. Honor the dark. So that is the only people who have to make a little bit of a leap from their comfort zone within the song of the sopranos, and it will make sense in context. And actually, you're coming from only love remains. You're going up an octave. Honor the dark. So if you remember that you're just coming from remains, then that'll hopefully give you a reference point of where to go. And if that leap isn't comfortable, you're welcome to sing honor the dark, where you ended with remains. So are there any questions about this, or is there anything you'd like me to look at again? Because I obviously needed to get myself clear and situated there. Is there any way I can clarify anything for anyone present?
The last measure, are we singing it the way it's written in terms of timing? Or are we...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Hang on, Don. I see that you need to be unmuted. Yeah, hi Leah. Just a quick question on the tenor part. The last part where we go up to the F sharp and it shows the notation. It goes there's a little bump up to the G, but I'm not hearing that. Is
Can you
that
tell me where, which measure?
so first page, the last measure. It goes up to the F sharp, and then there's a G written after that. Is that really there?
So I think part of so you're referencing the change. The part that you're talking about is actually the tenor part, the
Yeah, that
honor
part. Yeah.
darkness, right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Honor the darkness, honor the darkness, honor the darkness. So what I have in the fourth measure there is an A to what actually should be an A sharp or a B flat because it's kind of a blue note. Darkness.
You have an A. I'm looking at the first page,
Mm-hmm.
which is page 2.
Yes, and like I said, I think
And
what the place where we had a little bit of stickiness is
yeah,
that if you look in the I was trying to do us all a favor and wound up doing quite the opposite. The first line that we're singing is the alto melody, and then the second part it starts on that E. That's actually the tenor part, and then the third part below that that begins on a B that
yeah.
should be an octave higher. That's the alto 2 part. So maybe is it possible that the discrepancy is that you're reading the alto 2 part but singing the tenor part?
The second line down is the alto 2 part. The third is the regular tenor, which starts on a B.
Let's start. Yeah.
And the alto part starts on a E. That's what
Yeah,
that's what,
I think that was the confusion that we had in that conversation that we thought we had fixed, but maybe hadn't, because honor the darkness, that's more Tenorland. Honor the darkness, that's alto land, that's the B. So if
okay,
we want to kind of respect people's typical natural ranges, then I made a mistake and it should be the other way around.
okay, so in the recording that you sent us, we'll just have to do another recording. Because I think well, maybe it is. We'll just switch it.
It's much more likely that I made a mistake in the notation than in the recording because I am an orally trained
Yes,
musician,
yeah,
and notation is kind of a relatively new world for me. So it's, it
okay,
makes sense that there are issues here.
all right, yeah.
So if you discover that there's something in the recording that wants to be rearranged or addressed, I'm totally happy to do that, but it should be accurate in the recording.
Got it.
So I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, the gentleman who asked about that. Did that answer your question? If not, I'm happy to take another look at it.
He's muted, but he says good.
Yeah, my question is, and the bass part at the end of the dotted half notes, do you want that K to be noticeable or should we just drift off?
No, I'm happy if it's tight. The dark. I definitely would like to hear
Okay.
that. And Karen, again, for this tenor alto confusion there, the issue in the third part is that it's written an octave lower. I
Yeah,
will fix that as soon as we get finished with this conversation. Put yet a new version of the notation in that reflects that it's going to be sung an octave higher. So that should help too. But I would still like the altos to come in, the alto 2s to come in after the tenors.
yeah.
So what's written is more or less accurate, just that one octave needs to be flipped.
Well, the altos can sing that what the tenor part is written fairly easily. That's within our range. And the alto 2 part is now an octave lower for the tenors. That's what you're saying.
The tenors would be singing Honor the Darkness, which is the second part. Starts
Yeah,
with that.
right. Octave
And the
lower. Yeah.
alto 2s, who will be singing that third line, will be singing Honor the
Right,
Darkness,
got
along
it.
with, and it'll be on par with the melody, which is Honor the Dark. So it'll make
Yeah.
more sense you know,
Yeah, got it.
it's my mistake. Anyone else? Anything else?
Barb, did you have a question?
It was answered, thanks.
Oh, good. Anyone else? Wave your hand around or put your Zoom hand up if you've got a question. Okay. Seeing none.
Okay.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Carolyn?
So I decided to embarrass myself and admit that I can't find the lyrics anywhere. Steve tried to send me a link. Is there, at this late point, do I just need to shut up and deal with it?
Carolyn, I put them in the chat. Can you see the chat? Is that okay for you to look at?
Yeah, I can see the chat, but that doesn't show me the notes or like how long I sing this or
Okay.
you know, I'll just have to figure it out with the recordings. It's okay.
So
I just been trying the last half hour to find the lyrics. So
You also should have an email from me that has a link to the drive and has the notation attached. I think you should be included in that email I sent yesterday.
yeah, Steve said at the bottom of that folder, the file named notations, and I don't see a file named notation. So as I said, my bad, and I will look for the recordings and the lyrics later. Sorry about that.
Carolyn,
and I will,
Don't be
for
sorry.
everyone-
I'll send a link directly to the notation in the chat if that's helpful. And you also should have an email from me with it attached.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just mention something? I had a hard time finding it too until I noticed that it is a PDF. Okay, so it has .pdf at the end, as opposed to the other files that are audio files.
That's a good tip. And I will be, as I mentioned, I'll be updating that notation, but it'll have the same name, notation in capital letters, and then Honor the Dark. And it'll be a PDF too.
Leah, do you want to go over how many times we sing it before we do the ending?
Sure. So it's basically, if you look at the repeats as an opportunity to go back and grab the next part, then it'll hopefully make sense. It'll be 5 repetitions. So the alto melody folks will be singing first, and then they'll go back to the top and pick up the tenors and sing it through, and then they'll go back and pick up the alto twos and sing it through. That'll be the 3rd time. Then they'll go back and grab the bass. Then they'll grab the sopranos, and that's the end. So it should be 5 times all around.
Right. Sopranos, you only get one time.
I know, but it's. I don't want to say it's
Beautiful.
my favorite part, but because it's the counter melody,
Yeah.
and it has that, the completion of the message. It just, wanted to save it for last.
Best for last.
Save the Sopranos for last. Don't say it's best. And thank you guys for abiding my. We're all learning as we go. That's for sure. And sometimes it's more evident than others.
It's really fun to sing and it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. So would you like to move on to Be the Light, or is there anything else we want to discuss, talk about, think about?
Leah, how would you feel about doing the full thing through one more time?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
And I, oh honey. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear, until only love remains. Tenors. Honor the darkness as you do honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness by day and honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Uncertainty honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness until only love. All right, alto twos. Honor the darkness as you do honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness by day and honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Uncertainty honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness until only honor the darkness. The bass. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Receive the gifts honor the darkness by day. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. Deliver us honor the darkness. Honor the darkness. As the butterfly slips free from the honor the darkness. As the evening star reveals the light. Honor the darkness. Sometimes honor the darkness. Sometimes honor the darkness. Blessed honor the darkness until only honor the darkness. Honor the dark. And that's that last measure with all of our harmonies. Honor the dark, honor the dark, honor the dark. Let me see if I can save this. Beautiful. Okay.
Awesome. Any final questions from anybody? Okay. So we're going to transition into Leah's other song, Be the Light, which I'll let you intro about it. But as far as logistics, we are going to ask our teens and young adults to send in videos of themselves singing this song, but we'd love for everyone to stay and learn it. It's an amazing song. So happy for everyone to stay and learn it all, but we're recording this to send off to our teens and young adults.
It's possible
Allison,
we might need extra
Allison, could you put a link to that in the chat also, please?
To Be the Light? Yes, absolutely.
All right,
A
thank
link
you.
to the video or
To the notation.
to the notation. Yep, no problem. Karen, were you going to say something?
Just that it's possible we might do this again as a choir, or we might need some extra voices for the teens. So it's great if people learn it, you know.
Definitely. Thanks, Leah.
Oh, gladly, gladly. So I assume everybody on this call was present virtually for the inauguration. And as moving as all of it was, just how I personally was ready for a big shift and change of energy in the country, I was most moved by Amanda Gorman's presence, by her words, her poetry being a beacon of that generation, you know, shining forward and reminding us that there's so much promise for us as a nation, as people, as a species. And I was moved before she finished reciting or reading to just take some notes, right? Just, something's happening here. This is something really meaningful. And by the time she was done, when she finished her last words, I realized that I was being called to echo what she sang. And so that's what this song is. It's called Be the Light. I don't remember verbatim what her last words were, but I think someone in your group is going to share the poem in conjunction with this song. So it will really it'll be completely evident that I'm just shouting back to Amanda Gorman. I'm hearing her and I'm shouting back, yes, that I'm totally with you. We're here. And to be that light, you know, in the midst of darkness, which is not our enemy. It is a part of our life, but we also have the opportunity in dark moments to be that which we're striving towards, what we're looking for, that completes the cycle, right? What a beautiful thing to sing about at this time of year too. So, without further ado, there is a key change in the song. It modulates up a whole step. That is not really, or I haven't figured out how to do that with the looper, but we'll address that, and it's obviously in the recording in the boxes. Just like with Honor the Dark, it layers. It starts with the melody, which is the altos, then brings in the sopranos at the B section, and then we have who comes in next. The basses and the tenors come in actually virtually at the same time on page 2, but the way I'll have to loop it is I'll have to do the bass part first and then the tenor part separately. So you'll hear how they intertwine, and then when we come to 6, 7, 8, measure 49, section D, that's where the modulation happens. And like I said, we'll talk through it. We can maybe play through it a little bit, and the parts remain the same. The only thing that wants our full attention is section D, measure 49. So off we go. There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. One more time. There is always a light when we are ready to see it. There is always a light when we are ready to be it, to see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to see it. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to be it. To see the light. Let your bright heart burn out loud and be a gift in the world. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to see it. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to be it. To see the light. Let your bright heart burn out loud and be a gift in the world. Here's that soprano part again. Shine your light in the darkness. Shine your light in the darkness. Let your bright heart burn out loud and be a gift in the world. One more time for kicks. Shine your light in the darkness. Shine your light in the darkness. Let your bright heart burn out loud and be a gift in the world. There is always a light. There is always a light. We are ready to see it. There is always a light. There is always a light. We are ready to be it. See the light, be the light. Raise our eyes in the dark of night and be a gift. Together we will. There is always a light. 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 See the light, be the light, shine. That bass part again is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Climb this hill. One more time. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. See the light, be the light, shine. Climb this hill. Now here come the tenors. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Climb this hill, we know we will be light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Climb this hill, we know we will be light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Climb this hill, we know we will be light. That brings us to 49. So that's the song. In principle, that's the song. When we get to that point, we modulate from A to B major, and the parts continue. So let's see. So we came from, first of all, are there any questions up to that point from you guys who are here? Because they might be helpful to the teens if they have any, or to anyone else who's singing on it. I know I kind of breezed through it quickly, but the intention was to stack each of the parts and go through each of them 3 or 4 times, so you would hear them in context and then alone and in context. But what actually happens in the recording is that, like we did with Honor the Dark, we have the altos and then the sopranos come in, and so they're kind of going back and grabbing the next part that comes in twice, and then the basses do that pickup. There is always light. And then the tenors come in at the same time. So they actually jump in at the same spot, which you'll hear on the recording. Do-do-do-do-do. And then we get to measure 49, where it shifts out. So we had, let's see, let's sing from and be a gift in the world. We'll start at the top with those, it says the sopranos here. A gift in the world. And then they come up to shine, because you came in, your previous was shine your light in the darkness. Shine your light in the darkness. Let your bright heart burn out loud and be a gift in the world. Shine your light. Okay, so you're just moving up one step. That's what the sopranos do. The altos will come from climb this hill, together we will. And you get to stay on the same note. There is always a light. Okay? At least it looks that way, but I'm telling tales. No, of course not, because the key changes. Oh, Lea, you lovely thing. So let's see. Let's start in the A and go from the alto part in A and bring it up to the B. Where's our starting point? There is always 1, 2, 3. There is always light. There is always a light, of course. When we are ready to see it, there is always a light. When we are ready to be it, to see the light, to breathe the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill, together we will. There is always a light. So it's a straightforward movement. It is, of course, just one step up. There, from there to there is always a light. All right, let's move on to the basses who were singing in A. They were singing, there is always light. No, they were singing, there is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. See the light, to be the light, to shine, to climb this hill. There is always light. There is always light. So you're starting on the same note that the bass part starts on. There is always light. So what you were singing before was there is always light, but instead you're just going up. There is always light. That brings us into the new key. And finally with the tenors in A, you were singing, this hill we know we will be light. So I'll go back to the beginning of your part there. So the basses go, there is always light, and the tenors come in. There is always light, to see the light, to be the light, to shine. Climb this hill, we know we will be light. So you two, the tenors and the basses are the ones who really bring us into the new key. Are there questions about that? I'm hoping that my explanations are clear, and then in conjunction with the recording, it'll be in a greater context because you hear all the voices together making the shift. So the only other part that is different from the rest of the song is the end. And disregard the flute part that's up there, that high F sharp, because we're not going to sing it or play it. What we'll have is the sopranos. Shine your light in the darkness. And that's what you were singing before, just in B. Shine your light in the darkness light. So once again, the sopranos came in singing, shine your light in the darkness. Shine your light in the darkness light. The altos, as of the E section, are coming out of singing, together we will be the light. 2, 3. Be the light. Be the light. Be the light. 1, 2. Be the light. 1, 2, 3. Be the light. And the tenors are singing, again, as of the E section. You came out of singing, climb this. Be the light. You hold that F sharp all the way to the end. Shine, shine, or actually an octave lower. Shine, be the light. And the basses will be singing. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. Be the light. So you got that pickup, same as before. 1, 2, 3. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. Be the light. So that's the end. And again, we have each of the parts delineated in the recordings. So what you'll be singing, you'll be able to hear it as well as read it. And whichever works better for you, hearing it or reading it, will be available to do either from the notation or the recordings. Does anybody have any questions? So I just presented the parts, but I'm happy to go over them or review anything that would be helpful.
Could we hear the whole song with the
So the
parts?
best way to hear the whole song will be, give me a second. I will switch cameras, come around, and let you hear the recording of the song with the modulation exactly as it is in the box. So just give me a split second to arrange that.
While you do that, I'll tell you, Leah, you're getting some thank yous in the chat. Kim says, thank you so much for this gift. I have to leave now. Blessings to you all. So
Thank
you are
you.
much appreciated.
Thank you. I have to say that when I've done this song with groups in the past, we've not done the modulation and we've not done the original ending because they kind of occurred in the moment as, we'll call them natural gifts. But someone else created the notation for me from that original recording. And so I figured, and I heard your team sing before, and they are really exceptional. So I figured if there was a group that would be able to make this happen, it would be you guys and your teams. So let's have a listen to Be the Light. Are you able to hear this? Can I get a thumbs up if you were able to hear that? Okay, great.
Can you make it a little louder?
Yeah, I'll do what I can. I might. Let me see if it makes sense for me to share. I'll try, see if this works. We are at 1, 2. There is always a light. We are ready to see it. There is always a light. We are ready to be it. To see the light, to be the light, to raise our eyes in the dark of night, to climb this hill. Together we will. Sopranos. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to see it. Shine your light in the dark. We are ready to be it. To see the light, your bright heart, raise our eyes in the dark of night, and be a gift in the world. It comes the basses. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Here comes the modulation. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. To see the light, to be the light, to shine. Here comes the end. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. There is always light. Be the light. Were you able to hear that clearly? So did that kind of put into perspective all those disparate pieces that I was trying to present there? I hope that, I know, especially with the modulation, it gives it a different feel when you're able to hear that in context. So, Any questions, thoughts, anything I can clarify there? All right, that seems like okay. And I'm just now getting a chance to look into the chat. The how-to, what? Somebody says the how-to recording was deleted from the folder. If you look into the Syracuse, and I'll verify this now that I'm over here, the Syracuse Solstice, there are two how-tos. One is a PDF and one is a video. So if you're more of a reader, you prefer to read by written instruction, learn by written instructions, that's your PDF. If you prefer to have me talk to you and show you, in video form, that's probably what it would work better for me. So I made a video as well. And I can talk.
The PDF.
The PDF is there. I'm looking at it, so it should be in there.
Oh, maybe it's a bad link or something.
There's one that was deleted and then she remade one. So I'll put the new link in here, but it's also in that folder again. But the link that I sent from the email is wrong now because there's a new, more detailed instructions.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So if we keep the link to the Syracuse Solstice box, everything that goes in there and comes out, like that should be our main go-to box. Rather than, this is a recommendation, this is something that has worked for me, rather than having a specific link to the notation or a specific link to the how-to video, if we have one common link to the Syracuse Solstice folder, then if anything changes, like I said, I'm going to be making some updates, then you won't need a new link because you'll just be referring back to that folder. So that's something that could work. And I don't think I have my smartphone with me, but I can talk to you about the recording process if that would be helpful now. How many folks here have already done a virtual choir recording before? Cool. So you got a lot of folks that you can call, and you can certainly email me if you have any questions after this and after watching the other video or reading. But the basic gist, here's my phone, is you're going to want to have a cell phone. Ideally, you can let's stick with smartphones to keep life simple for everybody. A smartphone, a pair of headphones, and something to listen to your recording on. You're going to use your smartphone as your video device. And ideally, you would have either a tripod, but I've worked with people who've set up books in fancy ways, made a tripod out of just setting books on a table in a certain way. You're going to want to set it up so that you can film yourself. Ultimately, you're filming yourself singing along to the track. So, I put it on selfie mode so I can see myself and make sure there's a good composition for me. You're going to basically want to look like most of us. Let me see, is there anybody in this mix whose composition? So I'm not picking on you where it says family. I'm just saying, so family and Karen, you would want, and Wendy, you would want to have a different composition, right? You'd want to have your head and your shoulders and part of your bust. But yeah, exactly. Karen fixed it. Boom. Exactly like that. And like Michael and like Stephen Cohen and Ted. So pretty much this Zoom look, you'll want it landscape, and you'll want yourself centered. You don't want too much headroom. You don't want to have your eyes cut out. I've gotten videos like that. If you have a dog or a fan, please ask them to be quiet while you're recording. Other thoughts. So you're going to put your headphones into the laptop or the tablet or whatever the source is that you're going to be listening to the recording. It's important that you have the headphones on because then the video will only pick up your voice and not what you're listening to. So each voice that comes in will be its own pure contribution. You'll set up your phone, press record first. So there'll be a little bit of dead air in the beginning. Maybe you'll have to turn around and push play or something, but that's fine. Too much in the beginning of your video can be edited out. Too little can't be added back in, right? So you're going to put record, then you're going to press play. You'll hear in your headphones that there's a count in. I usually go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 with a emphasis on the one of the second measure. If you can catch that clap, that would help me with syncing the videos. Don't worry about catching the first one, but that clap is helpful. Any of the numbers that come thereafter are helpful. And then you just listen for your part and sing along, just like you would if we were all together physically. That's really the gist of it. After that, you just put your file into the Google folder, the one that we've been talking about that has the how-to videos and the folders of the songs and all the parts in there. Is that clear? Is there anything that I could, that could use some more clarification?
Did you mean you want us to clap when you clap?
That would be terrific if you're able to, because then I can
Like
visually sync us up. Mm-hmm.
Like
So
a slap, like in the movies?
Exactly like that. That's what that's all about. I learned that clack helps them sync up all the videos. Yeah. On a grid.
Is it obvious how to upload the video to the Google folder?
Have you done anything like that before?
I have, but I don't know about everybody else.
Okay. If you have a smartphone, and I suggest that's the best way to go, because that's usually the best video camera that anybody has around their houses now, and it's also compatible with our computers in most cases, so that there are fewer steps to get the video onto the internet. You could go directly from your smartphone into the Google folder. It's something that you just, I want to say you have to know how to do, but nobody's born knowing how to do that. So is there anybody who could use some help with that now? And I know Steve Reiter is your tech genius. Is that fair to say, Steve? Yeah. So if I'm not being clear, perhaps Steve can also help out with any questions about that. What I usually do is I will take my videos, select it in I have an iPhone, and send it to myself. I see, because I have an iPhone, I'm using Mac products, then I can airdrop it onto my computer, send it directly to my computer, and then put it from my computer into the Google Drive. There's also the option that I could highlight the video here and send it into the Google Drive, but I like to have it on my computer too, adding extra steps for myself for no good reason. You can also email it to yourself and then, take that attachment onto your computer and then into the Google Drive. If you haven't done something like this before, then that might be the simplest way.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm saying so many words. I hope that some of them are making sense. Cool. Thanks, Barbara.
I think in terms of the technical stuff, it's always like a matter of practice. And I think as soon as some of us start doing it, we can maybe encourage each other and say, this worked really well. Or spread out the tech help a little bit, because Steve is my husband and I know that he does a lot of tech and it gets overwhelming.
Yeah, it's just like you said, the first time it's like, and then somewhere around eventually it's like, oh, I've been doing this my entire life.
So there's some questions in the chat. Ted asked, do you want the bassist to record all of the not singing time?
Yes, please. And what I can tell you is I recommend you don't I'm going to use the example that I've heard. You don't pick your nose or anything, but if you do, no one will see it because I'll just edit that out. When you begin to sing is when you'll begin to be visible in the recording. But if I have all that space up, it'll help me sync it more easily. So just stand there and, do your thing until your part comes, if you please. I could have just said yes.
And Zoe asked, what is the due date for recordings?
Allison, what did we say? Is Allison Wolf still with us?
I'm here. November 22nd. It's a Monday. We got a couple weeks. And I'm assuming, Leah, if folks ask me questions, I can ask you questions and we'll get the answers. Great.
Of course.
Fantastic. Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you all. It's really a lot of fun to be able to be together in
Mhm.
this strange and new way.
Yeah,
New to
yeah,
me within the last couple of
yeah,
years.
because
Yeah.
you're in Europe, right?
Yep. Mhm.
And here with us.
Yeah.
So unless there's more questions, we usually end our gatherings with appreciations. So I'd love to open it up for some appreciations for the afternoon. Annegret.
Lea, I appreciate your incredible thoroughness. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely I accept that as a gift because there, with all of us, I think there are times when you just go, could have, could have. So I appreciate you, Annegret, for that acknowledgement. Thank you.
I appreciate having both written and oral instructions. Actually, I don't appreciate oral instructions. I appreciate written instructions.
This is Don, and I want to appreciate your songs. They're absolutely wonderful.
This is Evelyn, and I appreciated all of it. Thank you so much. My pipes are quite rusty, but now I'm getting into it. Thank you.
This is Diane. I appreciated everything, but I want to particularly note that it was so moving to hear you say your song is the yes to Amanda Gorman's poem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It definitely felt like a moment that wanted an action, right? A reaction that was more than just going, nice job, little girl. It was calling us,
So Leah, I heard you first, Pat and Sandy from Emma's Revolution, who we've sung with many times, posted a song that you had right after the pandemic started. It was, I think it was Open Your Heart or something. And I posted it on our site. So since then, I've been following you, and for everybody else, there's a lot of amazing songs that you have done that are available to. And it seems to me now you're doing a lot of instrumentation back of you, and there's a lot of new songs you've been doing. They're fabulous. So I think if you like these two, you might just check out the rest of this your moving music. It all speaks to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Carolyn. And Lea, your songs just are immediately moving to me. When I first started to listen, I couldn't believe how much I liked it. And I appreciate Allison especially, but everyone who didn't boo me out of the place when I said I can't find any music. So thank you for your patience, especially Allison.
Anytime. I really appreciate, Lea, not only your songs and your willingness to be here, but in general, your time and everything you've done to really hone your craft. It's clear that you've spent a lot of time and passion, and it's hard work and it's hard play, and I appreciate that about you, and showing up and continuing to do the work. So thank you for being with us. And I also want to appreciate everyone who came today and was so engaged, asking really good questions. It's really heartening to see that we can still sing together, in the weird, strange ways that we are. It's really lovely to be together and to be asking which note is that. This feels more like choir than maybe some of the other things we've been doing. So yeah, I appreciate everyone showing up, being present, and committing to singing together.
I have another quick appreciation to throw in for everybody in the choir. I find it amazing that there are so many of us who are willing to try this new way of singing together, willing to look at an instruction sheet that has all these words on it, or those oral instructions that have all those words in them. Because so many details that we never really knew existed are all of a sudden necessary for us to do this together. And it's really amazing that so many of us are willing to do it. So thank you. It only works when we do it together.
Yeah, it gets better with each voice. Yeah.
Great. Well, happy Saturday. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Videos are due by November 22nd. I recommend listening to your part, asking any questions you have, trying to upload it before the 22nd for when you have questions and technical issues. You can ask me, you can ask Leah, you can ask Steve to help with figuring that out if you're having issues. But we're so glad that you're singing with us, and I'm very excited to see how it all turns out.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you all again. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Yes. And this Wednesday, Reggie Harris is doing a concert. So same link as usual for the Wednesday nights for those who have been coming. We're also streaming it to Facebook. So it'll be very awesome to hear Reggie do a bunch of songs on Wednesday.
Have fun and tell them I said hey.
Thank you. We will.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good job.
Hi,